The number isn't so surprising to me, but what is encouraging is the market's reaction. Because in 2021, very often when we'd see these high inflation prints, the metals would sell off because the general market participants would say, well, that means the Fed's going to increase the pace of taper. They're going to raise interest rates. They're going to fight inflation. Well, today's price action is indicative that perhaps that narrative is crumbling, and the market is beginning to lose faith that the Fed is going to be able to get ahead of inflation. And, silver and gold investors, most of us anyway, have known that for a while. But what we need is the general market to recognize what we've expected. And it looks like perhaps that's starting to come to fruition. We've built a little bit of a buffer below there, above that support line. And that support line is right at $21.41. As long as support above there holds, I think it's constructive. We're carving out a base. However, if that were to fail, that does open up the possibility, I think it's an outside possibility of one more quick flush down into the high teens. Unlikely, but it's something I'm mentally prepared for. The vast majority of my metals portfolio is in silver, not platinum. And, there's no clear patterns here that can indicate the next price move, but you can see that they're oversold just above this strong support. This is SILJ, by the way, the junior silver mining ETF. And what we're seeing this week is a bullish engulfing candle. So that's encouraging. So I think we're trying to bottom. We're trying to find a bottom near these levels is the most likely scenario for the mining stocks. Well, my personal strategy is I scale in on weakness. I've already got my core positions. So whenever we see a nice sharp down day, I just buy a little bit almost every time. And I try and identify the miners that are, first of all, I put together a watch list every week, and I find the most attractive miners for chart-based entry points. And then if any of those mining stocks gets particularly sold off relative to the others, so that's where I scale in on weakness. The stock market has never been so technically stretched on a long-term basis. It's never been so fundamentally overvalued. So I think we're due for a sharp correction. I don't want to use the word crash, but I think a 10 to 20% pullback is very likely in 2022, probably in the first half, if not the first quarter. And that would actually be a very good thing for metals, because I think that's what would cause the Fed to reverse course and reverse policy on its tightening, on its plans to raise interest rates and do quantitative tightening and all that. And I think it'll, in fact, open up the monetary spigots one more time, like we've never seen before, with just a 20-30% pullback in the stock market. And that would obviously be rocket fuel for silver and gold when the Fed starts printing again, like they were in 2020.
And you do see the Fed still possibly reversing course, even though we're seeing this record high inflation?
Yeah, that's the dilemma, Elijah, is that they're between a rock and a hard place. They have to choose between propping up an economy that's on life support or letting inflation run hot. So they're going to have to choose. Do they crash the economy or do they let inflation run hot? And history suggests that they're going to choose inflation. And I think the reason is because the masses don't understand inflation. They don't know who to blame. They blame the corporations. They blame each other. They don't blame the politicians who created this mess or the Federal Reserve. So I think they're going to choose inflation 100%. Whether that happens, over the short term or over the longer term, I'm highly confident in that. I like to short-term trade just a small percentage of my portfolio. So I take short positions every time we tap this line, and I'm just looking for a quick little profit. But if we come back up and retest this one more time, that's where I'd be looking to add, buy volatility, some volatility call options. And if this support line here fails, I think the path of least resistance then becomes a pullback towards this 200-day moving average around 4,400 on the S&P 500.
And one other market that we do look at as well is the US dollar index, because it definitely shows a little bit about where metals might be going. Because obviously, if there's dollar weakness, that normally is bullish for the metals. We have been seeing quite a rally recently, though. Where do you see the dollar index going in the near future?
Well, the next week or two is going to be very telling. You can see this bullish, they call this a bullish arc pattern right here. And we had this uptrend channel, very clear uptrend channel. And we just failed at lower end of support in that uptrend channel right here. And 94.65 was the key breakout level. So I've been telling our readers, hey, we're probably going to come back and back test that breakout level. That's typically what happens. Whenever you get a breakout, you come back and back test what was resistance as support. And how price reacts there is going to be, if we bounce from 94.65, it's possible we go up and make one more higher high in the dollar. However, if that support fails and we continue lower, we've probably seen the top. So we'll be watching that closely in the next week or so. But regardless, over the next few months, I think the dollar is, in a topping pattern here and very likely to roll over and head back towards, the high 80s, low 90s. I guess one last thought is, a lot of precious metals investors have been confounded because for 2021, we kept getting these high inflation numbers and silver and gold didn't respond the way you would expect. And people are puzzled, and including myself for a while there. I was like, why are the metals doing this? But, I think what's happening is in 2021, the general market participants expected the Fed to get ahead of inflation. Every time we'd see a high inflation print, they think, oh, they're going to go fight it now. That hurt metals. Today's price action is very encouraging that perhaps that narrative is crumbling. So we'll see if that unfolds in 2022.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.